Hello and welcome to Tower Alchemist Defend Khaldoria. If you would like to check out the game, there is a link in the description. There is a demo available so you can play it as well. And if you like what you play or like what you see in this video, you should probably add it to your Steam wishlist. Otherwise, this is a tower defense game with heavy narrative elements. You can, of course, just play single player right here, and I think that's probably what we're going to do. We're just going to play single player right now, just so that I can show you a little bit of the gameplay before we get into the narrative. And by the way, the writing, the voice acting, and the 2D character illustrations are very nicely done, I gotta say. I very much enjoyed the voice acting and the 2D character illustrations the most. And there's a couple of things that I'm going to talk about in regards to the mechanics, but let's get into the medium difficulty here. There are only, there is only one difficulty available at the moment, but that's because it's a demo, of course. Anyway, you have a bunch of different resources that enemies are going to drop, but we don't really need to worry about anything except gold at this point. And as you can see, we have a sort of level that we can, get some things built on, and I'm basically just going to be using arrow towers here for the most part. You can use cannon towers as well. Cannon towers basically do AoE damage, and that's a actually pretty good idea. It's actually a good idea to use cannon towers. Now, there is a skill tree as well, so if you have a number of skulls, and skulls are a resource that you gain by winning in levels, you're going to have a pretty good time, because you're then going to have a number of ways that you can customize your towers. So you can increase their fire rate, you can increase their range, their damage, a number of other things. But the really interesting part, because I personally dislike percentage increases, I think that's really kind of boring. The really cool stuff comes after you put 5 points in one of those trees, and then you can pick from something really cool. Like, for example, there's this skill for the cannon tower that is called Iron Splinters, and basically what that does is that enables, whenever the cannon deals damage, it does 17.5% of its damage to enemies that run into that section of the level, and it hurts enemies. So basically that's a really cool, in my opinion at least, I really like that kind of mechanic, because it's basically, rewarding the player for putting the cannon tower in a, shall we say, earlier position in the maze. And I very much appreciate that. Now you may be wondering, what's that blue stuff up in the top left? Yeah, that's mana, actually. That's mana. Unfortunately, it doesn't look as though we actually have the other towers available at the moment, but there are 2 towers that you can get that are life and death. And life and death towers, they do increased damage. They'll do 200% increased damage to the opposite type. So for example, life towers will deal 200% damage to death enemies, and death towers will do 200% damage to life enemies. And generally, regular towers, as you may see here, regular towers will do 80% of their normal damage to life and death enemies. So technically, you can, if you want to, get by, as I am doing here, and just play with regular towers against even death armored enemies and life armored enemies. So you don't necessarily need to do that, especially, I mean, I don't even know why I don't have these towers available right now in the single player portion of the game, because I actually did just complete the campaign, but maybe because I just restarted the campaign, maybe that's messed with my progression or something like that. But for me personally, I feel like those towers in a demo should just be unlocked, because they are unlocked in the campaign. So, you can experience those. Basically, the life tower is a beam tower, which basically does damage over time, and the death tower basically unleashes a swarm of bats on enemies, and that's basically how it deals damage. And it's pretty cool, they're very cool. And as I said, the narrative is a fun fun journey that is actually very heavy. It has some very heavy topics. And, well, it's not fun for the main character, let's just say that. It's definitely not fun for the main character, but you do get to see and indeed meet some magical entities that will take you into a deep, dark forest, and it's actually very, very cool. Anyway, I think I'm probably just going to complete this level just so that we can get the skulls, and then I'll show you the customization system, and then we'll go into the campaign after that, and we'll experience a little bit of the narrative, and, you know, we'll go on from there. Alright, so there we go. We managed to achieve victory there, and as you can see, we gained 15 skulls. So these skulls are indeed now going to be used in your tower workshop. Obviously, bone splinters, they're not currently available right now, because as you can see right here, you're going to use your bone splinters in the alchemy laboratory. I'm assuming. I don't know that for sure, but I'm assuming that. Anyway, the tower workshop is currently available, and as you can see, whenever you complete a level, you can then increase your stats, or your tower stats, by a certain percentage. So you can see here, let's say that I want to improve the attack speed of my arrow towers. Then I can do that. So I'm going to do that. Unfortunately, it is very expensive. I personally would like to see this be reduced in cost, but obviously that's up to the developers. If they want to, you know, balance the game however they like, then that's obviously up to them. But I personally would prefer to see this at a cost of 5, because that would then enable players in getting the tier 1 bonus just that much quicker, and I personally like that a great deal, because the tier 1 bonus is where things start to become really, really fun. So for example, right here, look at this. Rapid Fire. It grants a 2.5% chance to temporarily increase the tower's attack speed by 285%. Now that to me is fun. I think that's really, really cool. I would love to see that in action. Same thing with things over here. For example, the arrow tower in the tier 2 section has a 2.5% chance per shot to fire a golden arrow dealing 5 times the amount of damage. A critical hit guarantees the next shot to be a golden arrow, which is insane synergy with the precision ability in the tier 1 bracket. And that says everything you need to know. There's a lot of synergies available here, and I really want to see and be able to test this out. Unfortunately, I just don't have enough, you know, I just don't have enough. I just don't have enough skulls to be able to do that, and that's the reason why I think that the costs should probably be reduced a small amount. But, you know, that's obviously up to them. It's not my thing. But anyway, let's start a new campaign, and you can play as 2 different characters. This does not affect your tower selection in the least. It only affects the story. So, you have Milan here, a confidant of the king, fights against evil with a superior strength, a sharpened mind, and unyielding will, protecting the innocent from the monsters of the woods. And then you have Sophia here, a member of the royal entourage, combines elegance and a sharp mind. With her intelligence and deep empathy, she skillfully maneuvers through social intrigues and political games at the royal court. And as you might expect, this is actually a kind of vampire game. Yes, it's like a vampire kingdom, and we're going to be selecting Milan here.
My king, you have always fought for progress in our country. Thanks to you, the kingdom returned to its former strength. The citizens lived again in freedom, prosperity, and peace. No generation before ever had a better life than we did. But envy and resentment lived on in some minds. Resistance arose among your alchemists, who found less and less use for their bombs and poisonous mixtures because of the peace. It was precisely those who in one of your weak hours took your life. So you were buried next to your ancestors, and the common people mourned their beloved king, who now involuntarily had to make way for a new ruler. I am afraid of what may come, but I know what I have to do. The time of my revenge has come now. My name is Milan, and this is my story. One of my earliest memories is of the evening of my 7th birthday. I had been given a book as a gift. It was about the history of the Fungas, an extremely peace-loving tribe from the forests of our country. I was looking at the artfully drawn pictures of them when my mother surprised me with another gift. I couldn't believe my eyes. It was game pieces and magical defense towers. I asked Mother to play a game with me right away. We set up the game board and read the rules together.
Alright, so basically this is the beginning of the campaign. Obviously this is going to be very simple. It's basically just going to, tell you everything that you need to know about how you can select your towers. You can select your towers, you can see what the range is, you can see what the shots per second is, you can see basically everything that you need to know about your towers. You can also upgrade your towers. Unfortunately, in the demo itself, you're not actually able to upgrade your towers. That is just a campaign thing in this first initial tutorial level. So that's just something to bear in mind. Now, there's one thing that I've got to say, alright? So I'm going to say this just because I think it is I think it's relatively important to provide feedback to the developers, because this is indeed a beta of the game. So I'm going to give some feedback here. So obviously you can see here we can now update. So upgrading obviously changes the cosmetics, so that's really, really nice as well. But yes, what I'm actually going to say right now is that I personally feel like the campaign should move along a little bit quicker, and I'm not talking about the story itself. I think the story is, completely adequately paced. I don't see a problem with it from a narrative perspective. But I'm talking about the gameplay mostly. The gameplay is a little bit strange when it comes to teaching you the game, because many of the levels are kind of just this.
I heard clamoring and screaming from the street. In a loud voice, Mother ordered me to get away from the windows. Panicking, she stuffed some clothes, some food, and my gifts into a bag. She took me by the hand, and we fled out the back door.
Alright, so there we go. So yeah, anyway, as I'm saying, basically it is all just about the gameplay being a little bit too slow, as in most people that have played a tower defense, they are going to 100% know all of a sudden, even if you haven't played a tower defense initially, I feel like the learning period, quote unquote, as it were, goes on a little bit too long for my liking. I feel like it could be cut down by a couple of levels, but I do think that the level variety is nice. I do think, though, that there could be more enemy variety.
Screams. The scent of charred flesh permeated the town. We ran through the alleyways. Screams kept coming from the houses as we flew past. I stopped as I saw my school consumed by flames. But Mother screamed and urged me to keep running. For a brief moment, I saw a shingle fall and hit my mother in the head before she collapsed on top of me. When Mother regained consciousness after what seemed like an eternity, she looked at me, lifted me by my arms, and scooped me up. Due to my exhaustion, she carried me the rest of the way to a side gate of the city. We came upon the bodies of several watchmen and some dead fungus, the creatures I had just seen in my new book. The normally peaceful fungus appeared larger and strangely deformed, overtaken by fear. I asked Mother how they had come here all the way from the forest. She quickly covered my eyes and hurried me
through the city gate. Beyond the gate, we hid behind a tent belonging to farmers who normally tended to their duties there. To soothe me, she pulled out my new game board from her bag again and began to tell me about the game pieces.
Alright, so yes, as I was saying, I do think that in general, the enemy variety could be increased a little bit earlier in the campaign as well. Also, obviously, the interaction between the life and death towers and the life and death enemies, I think that's absolutely fantastic, and I do think that that needs to be brought forward in the campaign, for me personally. So, as you can see, there is also a manual focus mode for each and every tower. So, if you want to, you can basically tell this tower to attack one of these other enemies in the back here, or a particularly nasty enemy that is very, very high in HP. You could basically tell one of your towers if it's been upgraded particularly, or maybe there's a life tower that's targeting the wrong thing or whatever, and you want it to target something different, then that's what you can do.
To help me defeat the next wave.
And there we go. Okay, so all we're going to do now is we're just going to place another arrow tower down right here, and this is basically the end of the level. Nice and simple, very, very easy. And as I said, I personally would like to see time controls. The time controls are currently disabled in the first few levels. I would like to see them enabled for people that don't necessarily need to learn how to play tower defense, but obviously that's just me. I'm just giving feedback because this is a demo and I'd like to, try to contribute a little bit, and I think that this game has a huge amount of passion put into it. I just feel like these kinds of sections just need to be, just to add a little bit of quality of life improvements to them. That's it.
We gathered our provisions and my game. Mother explained that we would seek shelter in the nearby forest for the night. It was only then, at that moment, that I noticed Mother had not only been hit by the roof shingle, but also by something else, as she was bleeding profusely. She tried to reassure me by telling me not to worry. "One day you will realize the strength within you," she said. "You have more allies in this world than you realize." Once in the shelter of the forest, we collected wood to light a warming fire. It became increasingly difficult for Mother to stay awake, and she hastened to ignite the fire, by which we soon warmed ourselves. She opened the game manual, held me tightly in her arms, and taught me how to enhance my towers. Mother showed me that there was a way to strengthen my towers with talents. She asked me to choose one of the square key talents and invest the skulls to learn it.
Alright, so this is obviously what I've already kind of explained to you, but, it's nice that they go and, explain it to you anyway, and I'm actually going to be going for rapid fire this time.
Set out to play another game.
Last time I went for critical, this time I'm going to go for rapid fire, because I think that's going to be super, super fun to see. Here we go. Alright, so, we have time controls. I have time controls. Hello. Okay, this is absolutely fantastic. Okay, so basically all I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to spam arrow towers as much as I possibly can, because look at what? You see that? That's the reason why I love games that give you this particular functionality. Being able to do something a little bit more interesting than, 2% damage increase here and there. No, I don't care about that. I care about these amazing, amazing keystone talents that really make a huge difference to my satisfaction level. It is crazy how much it can actually do for you. I mean, look at how much damage these things do when they have rapid fire. It's only a 2.5% chance, but think about how often these guys actually attack. They're attacking almost all the time, and imagine when they get rapid fire. How long do they even have rapid fire for? I don't even know, but it doesn't matter, because as soon as they gain it, basically every single opponent in the area just dies. They just get absolutely obliterated, and I absolutely love that. That is so incredibly fun, and that's the reason why I think in general, the synergies currently available in the game are fantastic. I think that's great. We do just need to have a little bit of extra speed in regards to new enemy types in the campaign, the ability to use the time, the time functions and so on and so forth, and generally having more towers available sooner. And yeah, I think that's actually gonna be it for this episode. I'll let you experience the rest of the campaign. As you might expect, something pretty bad is gonna happen next to our main character, and I'm gonna let you experience that for yourself. There is a link in the description if you want to download the demo, and if you like what you see here or you like the demo itself, you should add it to your Steam wishlist. I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.